I was here in Washington, D.C. with a group of our elders in 1990 performing the Buffalo Dance. And I had just purchased a flute shortly before that, and I taught myself how to play. And one of my uncles said, "Can you play this song? Can you play that song?" So overnight I knew the songs, so I came back and played them Indian songs, drum songs, on a flute. And when we returned home, he said, "I want you to come and visit me." It's Carl Whitman Sr. And then when I went to visit him, he said, "My sons and daughters, they're musicians and artists, but nobody plays the flute." He said, "I have this right, and I like what you do." He said, so. And he showed me how to take the piece of wood and with my hands and do the measuring, my fingers do the measuring. He carved one side, and then he said, "Put your fingers here," and we carved a hole. And so I made the top half, and he made the bottom half. We put them together, and it sounded okay. And so then he handed me a bag of tools, and he said, "Now you're not just a flute player." He said, "You're a flute maker. I'm going to give you this right." So I've never played an instrument in my life. I can't read a note of music, but you know, I've had the opportunity to play with the National Symphony from the Kennedy Center, you know, share the stage with them. 28 orchestras around the country and other parts of the world, you know. And so when I tell these children, you know, it's not learning ABCs. This is a spiritual expression of yourself. How do you feel? What do you see when you play this? Breathe and let that thing come to life, because these will sing the song that you want them to sing. And if you listen, sometimes they will, all you're doing is breathing and your fingers are moving and it plays you. That's what's really cool. So it's just listening to the flute, honoring the flute, and letting this become your voice. Because they say, "Well, what key are your flutes in?" I said, "I don't know, I use my hands. I think they're in monkey." They said, "Monkey?" I said, "I put a hole in there and then I monkey with it till it sounds good to me, you know." So, and that's all I can tell you about how to play a flute, I guess.
Thank you very much for coming this evening.
I brought a handful of flutes. I've probably got about 38 flutes that I choose from at home. A lot of them are the first model. This particular flute is my oldest. His name is Stumpy. My children, see, had broken appendages, and so my kids called him Stumpy. But he's 18 years old. Well, some of the flutes, they have maybe 5 holes, which is more of a Lakota Sioux style. Some of them have 6 holes, which goes from Mexico into Canada, South America. Some of them have 7 holes, which is very specific to the Mandan people. You know, so then the length is anywhere from my forearm to my wrist, or from the center of my heart to the end of my fingers. So it just depends on how much time you want to put into it, and some make them on machinery, you know. But I like to just kind of go with what's natural. But I have a few here that are given to me by friends. But the majority of these here I've made. Some have 2 barrels. This particular flute I call my shotgun, because, you know, if you look at it, it's kind of got that look, but it has a flute and it also has a drone. So I say it's like 2 friends sitting together. One does all the talking and the other one just goes, mm-hmm, oh, mm-hmm. And so that's all you hear from this one. I also have a triple barrel flute, and that triple barrel, I had a hard time learning that one, because when I play this, I believe I'm hearing 2 men or more men singing together at a drum. And then when I learned that triple barrel flute, it was difficult. And then one evening we were at drum practice at home, and then my granddaughter and my daughters were coming up the stairwell. Well, I heard that sound in the stairwell, I said, go down and do that again. So now when I play that triple barrel flute, there's two on top and one on the bottom, then I bring the women, that third voice is I bring the women into the song. So we're still family, we're still unity. This one is only a couple days old. I just finished this 2 days ago. Last Monday, this was a 2x4, or actually a 4x4. And then I cut that in half, and then I cut that 2x4 in half, and I made two flutes. The other one has a crane head on the end, but I didn't finish dressing. When I paint them up and fix them up, I call it dressing them. And but it was, I hand carve them. I split the wood in half, and then I use my thumb to measure this half, and then my thumb again to measure the other half, and I gouge it out. Then I put the two halves together and glue it with traditional Elmer's wood glue. And then I get a picture in my mind, and I start, well, this one I started right here in the middle and went to both ends. I had no idea what I was going to do, and that's what I do on most of them. Is I don't know what it's going to look like, but I have an idea what I want it to sound like. So some are very low toned, some are very large around, some are very small. My daughter came to me when she was 5 years old and asked if she could make flutes, because I've had other young people from around the country come to me and ask to learn how to play flute or make flutes. And so as I was teaching these boys from Florida, she sat down when she was 9 years old and made this one. Her very first flute, I had the honor and privilege of playing here at the Kennedy Center. Back then, I was a snow goose, and that was her very first flute. And when she made this one at 9 years old, she said, next time you go there, she said, I want you to play this. I said, honey, if they ever invite me. 2 weeks later, I was invited to come back. So it is quite an honor to bring this again. A lot of people pick up a flute and the first one they want to play is hot cross buns, because they learned that in school with the plastic pipes. Well, these are similar. These are relatives of that plastic pipe, but that piece of plastic has no emotion. It has no life. I use tree branches. I use a piece of a door. I use scrap lumber. I find pieces of wood in the garbage can and take that out. They say one man's trash is another man's treasure. These branches, they came from the earth, and these branches have a mother and a father, and these branches have children, so these are beings to us, and they're more than just a piece of wood. There's what I call a spirit journey song, and I ask people to take a deep breath. Imagine if you could fly, if you could go past these trees, and if you could go up past those clouds. If you could find Grandma Moon there in the darkness and put your feet on her cool face, or run your fingers in the stars and the children and make them laugh, and make them sing. Those stars are children to us. So, and then I had to say, maybe you miss somebody, maybe you have somebody far away, maybe you recently lost somebody from this world. For just a moment, just close your eyes and think about flying and think about being with them. Then I slowly begin the song, and most of the people will close their eyes, and I ask them not to cheat. Don't be looking at each other through one eye, or peeking between there. And then I see people floating, and I see children smiling, and I see people crying. They're very powerful medicine, because one of our uncles called them the sacred branch that sings, because they touch the heart of men and women who are older than myself and return them to the days when they had all their hair and their teeth. And it takes our little children and turns them into warriors and protectors, leaders, providers of tomorrow. It takes those who are lost in their heart or hurt in their heart or their mind. Maybe they go inside to heal or sometimes go outside to heal. So these are a very powerful thing. It's not just a piece of wood. So every one of them's got a name. You know, every one of them's got a name. And I respect them as that. And they're medicine. They're medicine of the spirit and the soul. Most people associate the flutes with love songs, so I think I have, when I do children's stories and children's songs, I have some very specific ones. Like my very first song I taught myself how to play, I talk about a warrior who's much smaller than myself, but I know men bigger than me who back away from him. And I've seen women run screaming, but I have seen children in innocence reach out and touch this warrior. And he could hurt us, even kill us. But it's not how big you are on the outside, it's what you have inside that helps people, and there's medicine inside this warrior. And so I tell them, I'm going to play this in our Mandan language first, because they speak slow and pretty. Then I play it in the Herata language, they speak a little faster. And then I play it in the English language that we share, and then many people recognize it, because that song is Itsy Bitsy Spider. Many men have, jumped and looked, hey, a spider. Well, how big is this man? And how big is that spider? You know, how many times have you seen your mom running and screaming across the room? But how many of us as children reach out with a stick or a piece of grass or even our finger very bravely touch that spider? See, that spider is like us human beings because he's black, he's white, he's yellow, he's red, he's spotted, he's bald, he's ugly, he's beautiful. You know, they're amazing. They fly, they swim. They dig in caves, they're powerful. And we take, as Native people, we take several of those different spiders and a piece of them from the inside, and there's medicine for elders with arthritis and bursitis. You mix that with a few things. There's medicine for women in their time of the moon from the spider, and there's medicine for children as their bones grow, and it's better than Tylenol, you know. And who would ever think of a spider with all this power? See, most people, we're not afraid of them. We respect them, and that's what we should do with each other, is always respect each other, because we're just as delicate as the spider too in this universe. So.